Martise will come around the screen, get in the lane, step back jumper on the way. Got it. Offensive rebound, Alex White. Putback is good.
It's center court with Charlie Ernst on 88.3 WLFC.
Martise needs to pick it up, sends it ahead to Ricardo. Ricardo to Terrence Sullivan, who slams it down with one hand.
Join Coach Ernst and the Oilers on Air team as they take a look back at the week that was, discuss what's happening around the conference, and preview the week ahead.
TST going to work, goes to the right hand, bucket in the foul, Tyler Stern-Tucker.
Now, let's join men's basketball coach Charlie Ernst and the voice of Oiler basketball, Jason Granger.
Hello and welcome to Center Court with Charlie Ernst. My name's Jason Granger, and right now getting set to talk a little bit about Oiler basketball. Just one game this week, Coach, and it was a good one. Hillsdale came to town, and boy, you guys jumped on them early and often and came away with a nice victory.
Well, they put it to us the first time we played them this year, and we didn't get off to a good start. I didn't feel like we took a lot of good shots in the first half. We like I've said, we spent a lot of time on defense in the first half, and our defense wasn't good enough that night to lean on it. I thought we had a much better balance of shot selection versus playing defense in some cases for 30 seconds right through the shot clock and finishing with a rebound. We also forced some turnovers in the first half. It's probably as good a first half as we've played, or good as half as we've played all year. So that's good to see, especially when you're talking a game in February.
And I didn't feel like Hillsdale played poorly. I thought they came out and played a pretty good game, especially in the second half. Made a run back action, shot really over 60% for much of that second half, and thought you guys did some nice things of keeping your poise, not kind of getting that body language like, oh, here we go again, because we've had a couple games like that where teams have gone on runs and we just had to hold on in the end and then end up really putting them away.
And I think that's one of the things that we're still working towards as a team. I mean, I think number one, I would say this about Hillsdale and their energy. I thought it was good. They didn't play on Monday, so they certainly were well rested, well prepared, had a few new wrinkles put in, and we knew they would. So we really made this game about us and how we want to put our best foot forward this time out, and I think we did that. Now, as far as the end of the game and second half, I still go back to this. We're not as deep as we've been in the past. We have too many guys that when we get inside the 5-minute mark, some of those guys have barely taken a break most of the game. And, in years past, we've been able to bring our starters back in, or 3 or 4 of our key guys back in at that 5 or 6 minute mark, well rested. And it seems like, we just kind of put the gas pedal down and coaster on in. But we don't have that luxury right now. And we're trying to find a style of play that can handle those situations better. And I think the important thing is we continue to get the ball in the right people's hands late in the game, where number one, we take care of the ball, and number two, we make free throws. And if we can do those two things, it's going to be hard for teams to come back from those kind of deficits.
Really thought you got after them inside, points in the paint, 34 points, and that was an area of concern after Monday's game, and then also last time up in Hillsdale. And really your two post players, when you look at it, Taryn and Tyler, when they go for 28 and 25, and a lot of those points coming inside the painted area, you got to like that.
Well, yeah, those guys, I think both of them have been guilty of maybe relying too much on threes. And that was okay when we had a team full of bodies, fresh bodies. We had Alex, we had Aaron, we had other guys that could go inside, and we didn't need those guys to score half their points in the paint. But the reality is they both play a lot of minutes now. And while they're good jump shooters, they're also really good at getting to the basket. And you can get to the free throw line, you can get the opponents in foul trouble, and you can be a tough matchup. If you just shoot jump shots all day, they can guard you with smaller players, and that's a better matchup for them. So we want their matchups to be favorable for us. And for that to happen, you need players that can hurt you both inside and outside. And now you have to guard them straight up. And if they're being guarded straight up by guys their size or bigger, they're going to have an advantage.
And because you started to get that inside game going, you're able to knock down 10 threes. And, anytime you take 10, you make 10, you think, well, how many did you take? You take 25, 20. You only took 23s. I think that's about the right number, and 22 assists. So, offensively, I don't know how you can get a whole lot better.
Well, we talk a lot about that. In fact, at halftime, we had 12 assists on, I think, 26 possessions or something like that, which was really good. And that was a testament to the first half I referred to earlier. It was about defense. It was about sharing the ball. That's really who we are. Early in the year, we were a team that forced a lot of turnovers because we played up-tempo on both offense and defense. We did some pressing. We did some trapping. We were aggressive. Now we've kind of morphed into a team that we want to continue to share the ball and just play stout quarter-court defense. I think if we can continue to do that, we're going to be hard to beat because we've got really good offensive players, but sometimes we take tough shots, contested shots, early in the clock, when we really haven't broken down the defense. And we've got a lot of different guys that fall into that category. So I think when we're of the unselfish mindset and we're sharing the ball, we're tough to guard.
Coach, you could put 5 players in double figures. We'll start with Taryn, 28 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, a couple blocks. But I think maybe what went unnoticed was his defense, and it's interesting to me when Taryn picks it up on the defensive end, those numbers just seem to happen for him, and that's certainly a good thing.
I think it happens for a lot of players, and I tell guys that throughout their careers, and I think early in their careers maybe I wouldn't say that they don't believe it, but they're less accepting of that, of that thought of, well, my defense is really what carries my offense. But I think the longer they play college basketball, the longer they're in the program, I think they realize, I think there's something to that. And, Taryn's been giving us a lot all year, especially on the offensive end. I feel like, and probably he would agree, he's been at times a little inconsistent on defense. But I thought defensively against Hillsdale, he was as locked in on the defensive end as he's been all year. And that's so important because here's a guy that plays 38 minutes a game. So, we need him to continue to play hard, to be aggressive, to be decisive on defense, but yet be smart because we can't have him in foul trouble. And but he's a smart kid. He doesn't get himself in bad situations very often. And, it's something I don't really talk about with him because I don't feel like I need to.
Martise Kimbrough had 15 points, and I think that's great. But really, what was even better, Martise had 6 assists. So he was moving the basketball. He had 3. He got credited for 3 rebounds, but I saw him in there a number of times trying to battle for boards. And I think those are the things where Martise can go from being a really good player to being a great player by taking care of some of those things.
Yeah, I think. He's kind of a guy that tries to shoulder a lot of responsibility. He sees where there's need, and one of the places is on the boards. We have to be a team that rebounds by committee. We don't have that one big enforcer inside. Alex was a close thing to it, and he might be to that point at this stage of the season had he stayed healthy, but that you're going to get 10, 12 rebounds every night out. So we have to be a team that even our guards come in and help us rebound. The game's not quite as fast for us as what it was early in the year, and sometimes our wings would leak out because of the pace of the game. But I think, while we still want to run, I think the most important thing for us is getting stops. And getting stops culminates with a defensive rebound. So, otherwise you don't get stops and you don't get transition. And so, he's one of the guys, I feel the same way. I feel like he's kind of come down and helped us on the glass more and more. I think he's also sharing the ball better. So he's doing those other things outside of making shots, which he's done for 2 years.
Elijah Kalik, 13 points, only took 6 shots. He made 3 threes. And, Elijah's always been maybe the most consistent player on the defensive end for you. And this was one of his better games, and you wouldn't know it because he had so many other good performances. Well,
I think when you talk about Elijah, one word comes to mind, efficient. You know what you're going to get from him each and every night out. He's been a 3-point shooter, known as a 3-point shooter most of the first 2 years of his career. But I feel like from a defensive standpoint, and it's probably because of all the minutes he's playing. You improve a lot when you play a lot of minutes, and he plays a lot of minutes because we can trust him. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a good free throw shooter. He's always in the right place. He's a great teammate. So when he's making shots, boy, that really makes us tough to guard. And we're trying to get him to also try to get in there and get his pull-up off, get some shots at the rim. I think he's trying to do that. I told him he's putting so much pressure on himself when all you take is threes. You feel like, I missed 2 threes in a row. Now I'm really in trouble, and it makes you think about it when there's too many other things to think about. And I think he has to continue to balance his three-point shooting with his pull-up jumper because he's good at that, and he can get to the line some. And I think that's the part of his game that's really come on this year is getting to the basket, getting to his pull-up, and not totally relying on his three.
Well, Coach, when you had the injuries to Austin and Alex, you knew that there was going to have to be somebody that's going to improve off your bench, somebody that's going to step up, and certainly whatever Trey Smith's doing, you hope it just continues. And I'm just so impressed. He didn't even miss a shot on Thursday, and that's not the first time that's happened. He's been great on defense. He continues he played 23 minutes at the point guard position. Trey Smith has been better than I guess I can imagine. I probably assume you might think the same thing.
Well, he's a guy that we knew. It's a neat story, to be honest. He came here as a walk-on. I mean, we recruited him a little bit. He came here as a walk-on. It didn't take me but half the year last year to realize he can play. So, I gave him a little bit of money the second semester because I wanted to make sure he came back. And then he came into this year and improved so much over the offseason. I mean, this kid was in the gym all the time, and it wasn't just about his skills. He was in the gym with guys like Austin. And when you come to the gym with Austin, you're going to do more than work up a sweat. You're going to need a shower after the workout. And so a lot of guys just avoid coming to the gym when Austin's in here because they want to do their workout at their speed and their pace. They don't really want to do it at his, but not Trey, because he's kind of put together. The fiber of him is very similar to the fiber of Austin. And so he came in this year playing really well, but I looked across our roster and said, man, it's going to be tough to play this kid. The minutes, I could play him, but to give him the minutes he deserves is going to be tough because I got so many other guys in that position. So we decided to redshirt him. We only redshirt guys if we feel like their ceiling is really high. So when Austin went down, I knew that Trey could come in and be a good sub for us. But I'll even admit that he has played even better than I thought. Sometimes when the lights go on and the popcorn's popping and the gym lights are, that's a whole different scenario that you can't guess on how a player will perform. And certainly he has not only met those expectations but exceeded them.
And he's a nice compliment to Ricardo Smith because I think when you lost Alex inside, Alex was a guy that you could depend on inside to take some charges. You can depend on to get some blocks and big rebounds. So you lost a little defensive tenacity when Alex went out, and you needed somebody to come in. Now, obviously, Trey's not the same player inside, but he's a guy on the perimeter that can really get in and cause some problems to the other team's offense, along with Ricardo.
And that's where we're trying to find a balance for Trey because, to be honest, if we were playing fast and pressing, it would probably be more conducive to his game and what he could bring. His athleticism and anticipation, his closing speed is way above average. So he really makes plays there. And we've kind of had to change to more of a quarter court containment team. And for him, I think that's an area of improvement that we continue to watch film with him. I watch a lot of film with him, showing him things. But I think sometimes he's so aggressive that he gets himself out of position a little bit. And so we got to find that happy balance there of giving him the freedom to pressure without getting beat in straight line drives to the rim because we don't have enough shot blocking ability at the rim to cover up for those mistakes. So, but you know what? Hey, I don't mind. There's always things every player has to work on. So those are some of the things he needs to work on. He's been tremendous, though.
Well, the Oilers get an 88-74 victory over Hillsdale and up their record, getting to win number 17 on the year, 17-5, 11-4 in the conference. And when we come back on Central Court, we'll talk a little bit about the conference standings along with the big week ahead. This is Oilers Basketball on 88.3 WLC.
Only 0.5% of all high school student athletes play basketball in college. but all 100% of them become adults. That's why playing basketball in their high school team is so important. High school athletes learn life lessons that help them grow up, lessons that can't be taught in the classroom and often aren't taught at home. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Check out my new time machine.
Does it work?
Hit the button.
Hey, it's Napoleon.
Oui. Check out the future.
Hey, you have a nice house. Why don't I?
You didn't save any money, buddy.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and fix that.
Yeah.
Save something for the future. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America, but unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of: childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Martise will come around the screen, get in the lane, step back jumper on the way, got it!
Join us Thursday night when the Oiler basketball teams head to Columbus, taking on the Panthers from Ohio Dominican University.
Stolen away by Boner, great pass over to Horseman, Horseman up and in for two.
Jason Granger will have all the action from Alumni Hall. Women's pregame at 5:15, tip-off at 5:30, men's game immediately following.
Sullivan from way downtown, buries it!
This is your home for Oiler basketball, 88.3 WLFC.
Welcome back to Center Court, and right now talking about the GLIAC schedule a little bit in our two games this week. The Oilers take on Ohio Dominican on Thursday over in Columbus, and Saturday go over to Painesville to take on Lake Erie. Certainly two tough games on the road. And before we get to those, Coach, thought we'd take a little bit look at the standings. And right now 11-4 in the GLIAC, a 2.5 game lead over Ashland, Ohio Dominican right behind them, Walsh and Hillsdale. So you look at it, there's still 5 teams in the GLIAC South, and then maybe even 6 with Tiffin certainly battling to get in the tournament.
Well, it's always this time of year, when you got you got an eye forward and your body's facing forward, but you're kind of looking over your shoulder to see what everyone else is doing. And I think, I know this is Coach's cliche, but I give our guys credit. They've earned this situation where we've got ourselves in the driver's seat. And, we got 5 games left. We're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves because the next game on our schedule is a formidable opponent on the road. Dominican is probably the most improved team in the league, or at least if they're not, they're right there. They've been playing good basketball. Like most teams, they're good at home, and they've never been in a situation this far into the season to have a chance at the GLIAC tournament. And this is, like us, this is their last year in the GLIAC. So I'm sure that was a goal of theirs coming into the year. And with just a few games left in the season, they're looking at this and saying, hey, we're in great position. We control our own destiny. So we're going to have a highly motivated team in front of us come Thursday night. But we've got a lot of motivation, too. We're still trying to get the South Division title. We've got ourselves in a position to be a factor in the region. So many important things on the line, and if you can be in this situation in February, that means you've played good basketball. Now for us, it's just a matter of continuing to get better.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because let's be honest, with this group of guys, this is something you mentioned, being in the driver's seat. We're not used to that. And with this group, you are, your coaches are, our former players are, but this is a group that isn't used to being out in front. Last year we had to play from behind, and we're right there at the end. But this group, especially this group of juniors and seniors, we haven't been in this situation where we had to lead with 5 games to play.
You're right. You're exactly right. That me and our staff, we've been in this situation before many times. But this group of players, maybe with the exception of our 2 seniors, has really never been in this situation. And so, I don't want to maybe use the word urgency with our players, because there really isn't. But there is a sense of, I want our guys to be hungry come Thursday night, and because we have so much on the line. You sometimes can get complacent. You sometimes can look ahead and forecast this and that. All I know is if we keep winning, good things will happen to this team, both in within the present, the GLIAC South, the GLIAC tournament seedings, all of those kind of things. But more than that, it's going to put us in position to gain momentum going down the stretch. And you want to be a team that's trending up. You don't want to be a team that's limping into the postseason. And I think for us, we have not played consistently well on the road. It seems like, if anything, we've been inconsistent on the road. We're good enough to go beat Ferris State on the road, good enough to go beat Michigan Tech on the road, but inconsistent enough, to get beat not only by Ashland on the road, but really we got beat in the first half. I mean, the game was over with at halftime. And that's just the inconsistency that we've had. And I think that's what we're searching for, is consistency on the road.
Let's talk a little bit about Ohio Dominican. The last time they came into Croy, I think Findlay fans would agree that that's one of the better teams we've seen all year here in Croy. They came in and we had a double-digit lead there late with about 4 or 5 minutes to go. They didn't quit. They had some guys really show a lot of toughness, a lot of heart, a little swagger, they play with a chip on their shoulder, and certainly a formidable opponent.
Well, no doubt. And they've come in here the last couple of years, kind of like Lake Erie, and played really well. And, they've got a nice blend of veteran players with some freshmen that are playing key roles for them. They were faced with a little adversity when they came here. They had lost Ryan Hoying to an injury the game before, and while he wasn't a starter, he was a key guy off the bench, and it changed their rotation a little bit. And late in that game, they went with a lineup, a very odd lineup, a small lineup, and it did cause us a few problems. And I'm sure that they looked at that lineup and have every intention of using that lineup again. There's a lot of teams we play that have a hard time matching up with us. And I thought that's one thing that they proved to themselves, is they found a lineup that matched up well with our guys. And, it helped them go on that little streak there at the end of the game and make that a tight one. So that's something we're going to have to be better prepared for this time around.
Ronnie Williams might be their most consistent player, averages 14 points per game, and certainly he's making a case to be a first-team All-GLIAC. He's had a great year.
Yeah, he's a starter last year. I thought this time of the year last year he was playing really well. And that's what your leaders do. They step up at the most important time of the season, which is from mid-January on. And, like I said, they've got a nice blend of freshmen and juniors on this team. And he's one of those juniors. He's probably their most veteran player of all of their juniors in terms of how many minutes he's played over his career. So, he's going to be first and foremost on our scouting report. I think the key for them all year has been the emergence of a couple freshmen. And, maybe they'll start to fizzle out a little bit because it is a long season, but I haven't seen it if that's going to happen. Sam Hickey and Hassan Varance, both those guys, have had huge roles on this team for freshmen and had some huge scoring nights. And of course, they have Adam Sitlak here from Findlay, and Adam's been a consistent guy on the defensive end for them all year. He's an intelligent offensive player. He knows there's a lot of good offensive players around him. I think his main role on his team is to guard the other team's best player. And, he's accepted that role. And I think they've done a good job of finding guys to fill roles throughout that team and accept them and get better. And that's probably the best way to describe this Dominican team.
And I think what sets the Ohio Dominican Panthers apart from maybe some other teams in the GLIAC is just how hard they play. I think without a doubt, really for the last couple of years, when you talk about teams that play extremely hard, certainly other than us, it's ODU. And if you don't come in ready to go, they're going to stomp on you early.
Well, and that's what good teams do at home. And like I said, this is a different Dominican team than the one we've played in the past, because they have a lot on the line right now, and it's February. So, they may handle that extremely well. They may not. And I can't worry about how they play. I have to worry about how we play, because we can have a direct impact on how they play, how any team plays against us. So, I think for us, first and foremost, we have to handle their backcourt. Shamar Wall is a very good point guard. If he spends a lot of time in the paint, then we're in trouble. And we have found that has been a weakness of ours. And we have to shore up our ability to keep the ball out of the paint, force this team into jump shots, contested jump shots, and then limit them to one shot. In our losses, we have been beaten off the dribble to the rim, given up too many point-blank layups. And when you do that in this game, you're going to struggle on the defensive end because it's going to break down your defense. You're not going to get the defensive rebounds you need to get your fast break started. We got to figure out a way to keep him out of the paint, keep Ronnie Williams out of the paint, and then contest all the shooters they're going to put out there as well. So it's going to be a real challenge for us. But we've been working really hard at that part of our defense in practice, so hopefully that pays off for us.
Certainly a big opportunity on Thursday. Oilers travel to Ohio Dominican. Men's game starts at 7:30. Of course, we'll have pregame with the women at 5:15. And then on Saturday, Coach, go to Lake Erie. And I think this is a difficult road trip because you got to start out with ODU. They're as good as any team in our conference. And then go to Lake Erie. And you can't help but to look at the record and say, well, they're 4-20, and they've lost 20 ball games. How good can they be? But this is a team that if you go and you look back, ever since really about 5-6 games into the season, they've lost more 1 or 2 point, 1 possession games than any team in the nation. It's got to be, and they're right there. And certainly if they had a possession or two and each one of those games go the other way, they might be battling for a tournament spot.
As many people know, Kyle Connolly, their head coach, is a friend of mine, and he called me, I guess it was about a week ago. So this was 2 games ago for them. And in those 2 games, they've won 1 and they've lost 1. But here's what he told me. I don't pay attention to their stats. I knew that they had lost a lot of close games. But at that point in the season, after our game, he said to me, we've played 5 South Division games. We're 1-4 in those games, but we have a +8 margin of. They were +8 in terms of points, but they were 1-4. He said, "I'm not sure there's another team in the country that could say they're 1-4 against their other division teams, which is obviously way into a losing record, but yet." They were outscoring their opponents. It's because at that point in time, they won a game by 12, and they lost by 3, by 2, by 1, and by 1. So, they were right there to win all those games. And then since then, they went to Ohio Dominican and laid it on them pretty good. That was Ohio Dominican's biggest home loss of the season. And then they came home and lost a tough one, I think, to Tiffin, So, the point is, they have proven that they can beat anyone on their schedule. They have improved a lot. The key for us against them is their point guard, Sean Howard. Same thing I just said earlier about Ohio Dominican. We got to keep him out of the paint. We got to contain the ball. We got to limit this team to 1 shot.
And you kind of alluded to a lot in my next comment. This is a scary team because they're playing with nothing to lose, and Kyle Connolly deserves a lot of credit. I don't know how many teams out there that are 4-20 that play as hard as Lake Erie and play for one another, play for their coach. They do all those things. They're into the game plan. They're well prepared. And it's going to be a tough matchup there because, as you mentioned, they have a number of guys and young guys that kind of play with a nothing to lose attitude. They really don't, and that's a scary thing, especially when they're at home.
Well, they've been good at home. That's a tough little place to play. We lost a tough one there last year, and it cost us. It probably cost us the region. I think we might have gotten the regional last year had we not lost that game, and we had that game won, and we blew a lead late, and that still haunts me. So you can't take these guys lightly. The teams that have paid for it. I'd like to think that our guys the first time around found out just how you can't pay attention to this team's record. We were very fortunate to beat them at home. Had Aaron Overheiser really not played the last 5 minutes as well as he had, I'm not sure we get that win.
And you mentioned their point guard, Sean Howard, but they have some other guys that really play well off of him. It starts with him. When Howard gets going, then other guys get confidence. They had some guys come off the bench, hit some big shots. They had some freshmen play well against us at home as well.
Well, they've done that all year in their wins. They've got a couple shooters they bring in. They got the Middendorf kid, and they've got, I'm dropping some names right now, but they just have a nice combination. Jordan Humphrey is one of their freshman starters who's a very good player. Enos Thomas made a couple threes against us when we played them. They got a lot of different pieces that are certainly capable of making threes, and they made a lot of threes against us in the first half of that game. That's 2 years in a row that's happened. But I still believe the key to this team is Sean Howard. He's a senior, a 4-year player. a very good player, explosive player. If you want a chance to beat them on their home court, in the games that he has not played well or they've had a good matchup, they've struggled. And so that's the key for us. We got to figure out a way to contain him, to stop him, without making it easy on the other guys.
All right, Coach. A tough week in the GLIAC, both games on the road. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
That's head coach Charlie Ernst. And before we get out of here, I want to remind fans we got a Thursday game at ODU, then Saturday at Painesville. Certainly make the trip if you can. If not, we'll have all the games on 88.3 WLFC pregame at 5:15 on Thursday, pregame 12:45 on Saturday. Also want to remind Oiler fans, check out shopoilers.com, a new link off the athletic webpage, an impressive website with all the UF athletic apparel you need, so check that out there. So for the coach Charlie Ernst, I'm Jason Granger. You've been listening to Center Court on 88.3 WLFC.
Martise can come around the screen, get in the lane, step back, jumper on the way, got it. Offensive rebound, Alex White, putback is good.
Thank you for listening to Center Court with Charlie Ernst.
Martise needs to pick it up, sends it ahead to Ricardo. Ricardo to Terrence Sullivan, who slams it down with one hand.
Tune in every Tuesday night during the season for your connection to Coach Ernst and Oiler men's basketball.
Back over to Alex White. Alex, kick out to Elijah. Nick will launch it from downtown. Nick Rusatz buries it from three.
This is your home for Oiler men's basketball. 88.3 WLFC.